Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch Movie. I'm Mike.
I'm Jay.
And Ghostbusters Afterlife, we're going to do the review first and then hang around towards the end. We'll talk about the spoilers at the end of the video.
What?
Okay?
How you living? What? How you living? What? How you Ghostbusters is back. Yeah. First off, I gotta say, it was fucking great. I loved it. Listen, I loved every bit about this. It's the true sequel to the series that we've always wanted and we've always needed. 2016 was, it's a hemorrhage. It's a hemorrhoid that we thought we would never get rid of. And look, this movie, God, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it.
I liked it.
I liked it. But I loved it.
I liked it. I actually was a little bit disappointed. But I still liked it.
Why don't you go back to Zool and Cocksmoke?
remember this when I tell you. You can both like a movie and be disappointed in it. I like the movie, and I do think it was good.
Yeah.
Like, what was great about it was great about it. The end of the movie, which we won't get into really till spoilers, the end of the movie was the Quintus so ocho. It was amazing, man. Mm-hmm. The end of the movie, I cried. It made me cry. And kind of heavy cry. Like, I was shocked at how emotional I got at the end of this film. And it didn't feel like they were really trying to get you to cry.
Yeah.
But it was just there, and my childhood took myself over, and I was just like, oh shit, man.
I'll tell you what, and look, the thing about it is, at the end of the day, I felt that the pacing was on point. The sound effects were amazing, like that old school proton pack. Fuck yeah, we're back in business, Bobby Brown. And you also got the acting. None of the, that was one of the biggest fears I had going into the movie, that the kid actors were going to be annoying. They weren't annoying at all. They actually did very well, pulling you into the story and keeping you interested. Then they also had the music, which thank God the music was real. Like the music was like, it brought you back to 1984. It was Ghostbusters all over again. The special effects were on point. The monsters were awesome. Look, it was a pure Ghostbusters movie, without a doubt. And you could tell 100% that Jason Reitman paid tribute to what came before in the respectful and right way. And he did it just enough to not overdo it where it's too much frosting on your lips, but just enough to be like, hey, we love you, Ghostbusters fans. This is for you. But also we're trying to bring in some new peeps as well. So I feel like Jason Reitman perfectly blended those two worlds together.
I think he did. I think as far as everything they did for Ghostbusters, I thought it was good. The music, they didn't just wait for all the original Ghostbusters stuff to happen to put the music in. The original score was playing during regular scenes when it was just the kids and you were just feeling it out, and I loved that so much. The music was top notch. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And you're right, the special effects were great. I was worried a little bit that it would be over CGI'd, and there was just a couple little touches of CGI. But one of my favorite parts of the movie is when they would go back, and they do go back and they do a lot of things that you saw in the original movie. They do a lot of story points that are almost exactly the same as the original movie in a Force Awakens kind of way. Mm-hmm. But the way they did it, specifically you saw in the trailer when Paul Rudd's in the store and the demon dog's chasing him, I loved that scene.
Very Louis Tully. Like, okay, who brought the dog?
Yeah, that was top notch, like absolute Ghostbusters with the perfect amount of updated look to it. Mm-hmm. That was everything I would have wanted. I just wish more of the movie was like that store scene. For me, the stuff I didn't like about it, and I didn't hate any of it, I was just a little bored, honestly. For the opening scene, I thought was great. Put me right in the mood. Had that just cool Ghostbusters feel to it. And then as soon as we start to get settled in with the new family that's moving to this town, and they meet Paul Rudd, who's a summer school teacher, the movie definitely needed more Paul Rudd. He disappears for the second act pretty much, and I thought it needed more of him because he was great.
And he's also People's Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive. Why wouldn't you keep him in your film?
But when it goes to the kids, I did think the kids were fine, but I thought that there was a giant act of the film where we were simply watching a family, which I get why they did it, but it was just slow. And it was kind of drab for me. Yeah. When we're watching a family settle in and to a new town, and it's fine. It worked for the movie, but Jason Reitman does that with his movies. A lot of his movies do have that slow, kind of drawn out pace, and this movie did too. But when they get to the Ghostbusters stuff, it takes a little too long for me to get there. But I felt like when they got there, they did a great job. It doesn't feel like 1984 Ghostbusters at any point really, except for maybe the very end act. It doesn't feel like Ghostbusters 2, but it has enough in it. It has enough to really wet your whistle, and you just enjoy watching it. And they did a good job. The movie absolutely did not ruin or make me mad or tear apart anything that I love about Ghostbusters, and that was probably the best part of it.
Look, Ghostbusters is my favorite film of all time. I don't know what the fuck Novocaine you put on your wiener this morning, where it took you so long to get there, but I understand your concerns.
Hey, it happens.
When you do that, it happens. But yeah, I disagree, because I did feel like it felt like it didn't feel like nothing's ever going to be Ghostbusters 1. Never, ever. I mean, no matter how much they try, how much juice they throw at it, it's never going to stick. Ghostbusters 2 with its own beast. But I feel like it fits perfectly inside of that Ghostbusters 1 and 2 universe. And when I say a true sequel, first off, the only true sequel Ghost Heads, that's called Ghostbusters fans, they call them Ghost Heads, but it was Ghostbusters the video game. Up until that point, Ghostbusters the video, they had the original cast, even Hal Ramis to do the voice acting, and they had an original script pinned by Dan Aykroyd and Hal Ramis. Up until this point, Ghostbusters the video game was the true Ghostbusters sequel. But now, thank God, Jason Reitman comes in and is like, you know what? I know what they fucked up with in 2016. I'm going to fix that. I'm going to retcon that, and I'm going to do it justice. And he does. I think that the one of the biggest things that I take away from this is that the whole movie, and that's what Ghostbusters 1 to me was. It's an amazing film with awesome special effects and amazing comedic performances, but it's the charm of the movie. And if anything else, Jason Reitman has captured the charm that made Ghostbusters 1 so successful and so endearing to people from the 80s, as well as Ghostbusters 2. So when I walked away from the film, I felt like a scratch had been scratched, or an itch had been scratched. I mean, it was finally there was just something about it that I think that we all wanted to see in 2016 that we never got. And it wasn't like, oh, we're gatekeepers and we need our Ghostbuster movie and fuck anything else. It wasn't like that. It was just like, hey, pay tribute to what came before, and he did that. Jason Reitman did that, and also paved the way for a new story that's going to make sense. By the way, the ending scene, I watched this with my girlfriend. She teared up 3 times. I got emotional. There's one scene specifically when the daughter or one of the main actresses goes downstairs in the basement and she sees certain things, and her whole perception changes on what she thought was.
That got me.
And I was like, what?
That got me.
I was like, what's this? What's this? My eyes are sweating.
That got me, sure.
And then, but the ending, man, I was like, oh fuck, dude, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's not better, because it really pulled me in. I'm like, man, this is everything I've ever wanted, as far as 37 years later after the first one that we finally get to see this. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I would say the charm is what got me. And dude, kudos to Jason Reitman. And definitely, this isn't a spoiler. I don't believe it is. The ending, especially there is bonus endings.
2 of them.
Yeah. So make sure
after the credits.
Make sure you stay. It definitely sets itself up for a badass future in Ghostbusters. Like if they follow through with this, Jason Reitman has said, hey, guess what? I'm holding the football. Laces out. Fucking kick the field goal, next director.
Because
it's already there. It's already there. Yeah. And I loved it, man.
Dude,
I loved it.
That ending scene, that extra sequence, did something that I didn't think was going to be possible. Like, of all my high hopes, I would have never thought that last scene was going to be possible. And I was like, oh my God, could we have it? Could we have it all, Captain?
We got one!
It could happen. So, 2 things for me is, number one, and let me ask you this, all right? If you could, as much as you love this movie, if you could take this movie and you could trade it for if they made another Ghostbusters movie 5 to 10 years after Ghostbusters 2. Would you do it right now?
Well, they
Sight
did
unseen?
the video game.
No, I'm talking about a movie.
Yeah.
Like an actual movie.
Yeah, I would do it as long as the original cast was in it.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
100%.
Those old feels, all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, for me, like you said, when you say it feels like a true Ghostbusters sequel, I think it feels as true of a Ghostbusters sequel as we could have gotten with what we saw in the trailers. I think they did a great job with that, because you're never going to find you can't use the old Ghostbusters for a whole movie. Yeah. You can't recreate that. What I miss. This is a distant third favorite Ghostbusters movie for me from the second movie, because more than anything, I miss the camaraderie between the guys.
But it does fit in the universe.
It absolutely does. Yeah, no, they did a good job of that. But the perfect Ghostbusters 3 would have always been one that felt like the first or second movie. Now, I know when we went into this, I wasn't going to get that, so I didn't expect that. But there are hints in the future that something like that could happen, and I think that would be amazing. It's just, for me, The last act was awesome. The first two acts were they had little moments and they were fine. There was nothing wrong with them. I just felt it was a little dull and took a while to get to where it was going. But I'll say this, man. I'll say that I'm pleasant. I'm very happy with this movie.
Yeah, and
I didn't think about 2016 a single time.
And well, to credit you, you've never really subjected yourself to the full horror of 2016.
No, I've never watched it. Don't care.
Don't do it. Because if you watch that, this would be like. If you watch that, this is Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Is it or Mozart? I don't know. I'm
sure.
I'm fucking stupid.
I can imagine.
I don't know classical music. Okay, I like fucking Whitesnake. But yeah, dude, and they promised. They did say at the beginning, Jason Reitman and a few of the other actors that come out and said that this is going to be a very emotional movie. That the emotional anchor is at the center of this movie, and they were fucking right. I didn't like when they said that. I'm like rolling my eyes, like, okay, yeah, you're gonna have something in it. It's gonna be like, yeah. It's totally true, especially how they filmed it in the sequence of events that led up to and toward the climactic part of the emotional part they were talking about. I was like, fuck, dude.
I've never had something like I'm used to movies. I cry during movies all the time.
Yeah,
but it's always emotional moments.
It's called pussy.
That's the way it goes. I'm in touch with my femininity. Okay, but no, like I do it all the time. This was like one of the first movies that's ever made me actually cry out of full childhood nostalgia, and it was a weird feeling. I was like, man, fuck, this is getting to me. It's not coming from my gut. It's coming from my brain. Like I don't know. I felt weird. Like watching that scene, I was like, fuck, this got to me, man.
Dude,
holy shit, I feel like a kid.
When I was a kid, like dude, I collected all the toys. I've loved this movie since I was a kid, since I was a youngin', and Ghostbusters has to this day remained my #1 movie of all time. And I had a lot of expectation going in, and I got to be honest, man, it didn't let me down. Like they didn't let me down, and maybe it was because 2016 was so bad, and I'm just maybe it's going to be one of those movies that 6 months later I'll watch and be like, man, it's not as good as I think it was. It's like, episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Everybody just like denied their feels. Like, Jar Jar's okay. You're a fucking liar. You're stupid. They're like, Jar Jar sucked. I can't believe I liked him. But it's not. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think that they hit all the right tones in the film to make it a Ghostbusters movie, and that's all we wanted anyway. That's all the Ghostbusters fans wanted, and I loved back in the day, especially during 2016, and Paul Feig, I've never had a woman in my life, was talking about, oh, this is toxic masculinity. No, it wasn't, because there was a lot of females that came out that were fans of Ghostbusters that were saying, this movie sucks. You're not even close to what Ghostbusters was. You're just being a douchebag. And that's all, because all they wanted was just a little, hey, bring a little bit of the magic that Ivan Reitman did with 1 and 2, because you can do it, and Jason Reitman delivered on it. If someone said, hey, break this movie down in just what other movies is this like? I would say it's Goonies. It's the Goonies with backpack or with proton packs. Not to the extreme of the Goonies, but just kind of like that. They're on an adventure and they get proton packs and they go on their adventures. It's like Casper, the movie with Devon Thawa. And then it's also like, if you've ever seen that Michael Keaton movie, especially the Michael Keaton movie, the Jack Frost. Just like that. Toward the end, that movie fucking every fucking time I watch it makes me well up. Because it had all these emotions in it. It was a fun movie. It was very fun. It was very interesting. It was very engaging. But then it's got that moment in it. And it's a very family-friendly movie, by the way. So it's also one of those, but it connects with people, especially people with kids. Like, you're like...
Yeah, we took the kids to see it.
Yeah, well, but especially toward the end.
Yeah.
It's just like, fuck, dude. And I don't have children, but if I did, I'd be like that. But yeah, dude, at the end of the day, I'm giving it a 9.0. It's not Ghostbusters 84. It's not, and it's weird.
It never was going to be.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. It's not Ghostbusters 2. And we like Ghostbusters 2. I don't know why the fucking hate exists. Because the Ghostbusters 84 to me is a 10. Ghostbusters 2 is a 9.5.
Yeah, they're both 10s.
They're amazing, yeah. They're even both 10s. But this is a 9.0. I feel like it fits perfectly in the universe, and if you're a ghost head or you're a huge Ghostbusters fan, or even if you're a casual fan of Ghostbusters, or even if you barely know Ghostbusters, I think it'll bring everybody in. You could take your kids to go see it. As a family, you can go see it, and you can really enjoy what Jason Reitman's done. I mean, and he's done an incredible job, and I hope there's a sequel to this, and I hope that Jason Reitman at least comes back to do one more. Because Ivan Reitman did too, so maybe Jason will do too.
Yeah, and I'd be fine with that. I'm going to give it a 7, but it's a happy 7.
Why don't you go suck Vigo's dick?
Hey, man, as a movie,
God damn.
There's like, I love the ending scene's a 10. The ending scene's a 10, and there's a lot of it that the little 10 moments in there. But as a movie overall, I just felt like even if you're going to have kids, I know that we're not going to have the adult camaraderie, which was to me my favorite part of Ghostbusters overall.
And they're legends. They're all the legends.
And I knew you were going to get that, so I'm not knocking the movie for that. Don't get me wrong. But I actually thought that the kids, while they were all fine and they were good, and I didn't hate anybody in the movie, and I didn't hate anything the movie did. I felt like they could have had a better camaraderie between the kids. Like they could have had, with all the time they spent building up these kids moving to this town, they were just a little group of kids to me. Like there wasn't anything super special going on between them. All the special things about this movie to me came from when they dipped into the past.
It's kind of like, you're right, there is a... Well, it is very much like, as far as you're talking about camaraderie, of course the camaraderie between the original guys, like, legends, I mean, SNL legends, and Ernie Hudson's a legend as well, but, and they're adult, but, yeah, it did very much feel like when it gets going, and especially how the story revolves around the little girl and her brother, and they move to this new town, and they're trying to figure out where they are and what's going on, and it did also have a very Lost Boys. You know how like Corey Haim moves in with his brother and they don't really know anyone.
Story-wise, I guess.
No, I'm not saying it's not the same movie, but it's kind of like generally the same kind of feel. Like it kind of takes you from A to zero. They don't have a lot of time to build up camaraderie. Because it goes 0 to 100 really quick.
But I was saying, like, aside from Paul Rudd and everything from the past, I loved everything they brought up from the past. But aside from Paul Rudd, everything they did in the future, none of it was special to me. Like, it was okay, it was fine, but none of it was special.
They're obviously, if I had my druthers and I was like, hey, I'm gonna pick what I want to pick, and it would obviously be, I would cast Paul Rudd as a Ghostbuster. I would grab I think Tater Tots Channing Tatum was on board to be one, and Chris Pratt was another one that wanted to be one. Yep. And I would do that. I would make it as much, or emulate as much as the '84 Ghostbusters as I could. Make it more, hey, look, these are adults, and like kind of go from there. But it's fine if you're going to use the kids, and I understand that Stranger Things and all that stuff is like a big deal. I hate that kind of thing too because it's kind of burned out, where it's like, oh, we're going to make this a kids thing. Yeah. But either way, they did what they had to work with, and I think they did a good job with it. But
and like, by the way, Muncher. So like, you couldn't recreate the camaraderie from the guys
Muncher,
back then. But what you could have done is you could have inserted like Muncher's character could have been something super special. Like that could have been. Remember the first time you saw Slimer? Like I remember, and I was like, oh my god, that's so fucking cool.
He's drinking more than me.
I saw Muncher and he was fine and he was cute in a couple moments and he made me laugh. And the little Marshmallow Man, although we'll talk about that in the spoilers, they don't make any sense to me how they exist or what's going on there. But like, they were fine and they were cute and they had moments, but nothing like the first time I saw Slimer or the way I felt the first time they saw the ghost in the library.
Well, I feel like
there was just nothing new that was groundbreaking.
But to be fair, though, when you saw Ghostbusters, you'd never seen anything like it.
Right.
I mean, it was brand new. I mean, this was like, oh, these are fucking Jordans? Holy shit, what have I been missing out on? Yeah. Like, it's like that. But yeah, at the end of the day, though, the only thing I will say I didn't like, and it was only one scene specifically, and that's why there was a couple of them, but I understand the motivations behind the main character, the girl in it, this forced humor. It kind of got tiresome a little bit.
We get it, you're zany.
Where she was doing this dad joke stuff, and I do dad jokes, but I mean, at the same time, I'm also an old ass man. And she's a young child, but I was like, you're like, at the same time, it's like, all right, I get it. And there's one specific pivotal scene when she's going and talking to the big baddie of the film, and she's doing it, and I'm like, all right, because it went on way too long. Yeah, it's like one time, okay, 2 times, I get it. 3rd time, shut the fuck up. Like, just get to it. But
even though McKenna Grace, she was good in the movie.
She was great, and but that was just too much. So there was a little bit too much of that, but other than that, man, by the way, as the little kids, I think that kid podcast was fucking hilarious. I think he was great.
He was good.
He's like, hey, by the way, your grandfather's this part. You could be like a DJ or an influencer. Like, that is such the fucking idea behind fucking kids today.
My favorite part is when Paul Rudd went to the school and he was like, we're gonna watch Cujo.
Dude, do you know that? I swear to God, dude, next remake, I want to see it happen. The way that Paul Rudd was in that classroom, the way he was handling those kids, summer school.
Oh my God, he'd be
Paul
perfect
Rudd
for summer
as
school.
The guy in summer school.
He'd be perfect
done.
For summer school. Holy shit! All right, let's get into spoilers now. So if you guys have not seen the movie, click off now. I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks. Talking about spoilers though, fucking Egon, dude. like that's
it, man.
Holy shit.
That was the tearjerker. The entire. So at the very beginning of the movie, you see Egon out there in the mines of Zool. I guess Zool had time to get a mining company going, or Shandor. I don't remember. I think it was the Shandor mine.
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So, and you know, he's setting up a big. He's doing something, and he's running back to his farmhouse. And then the scene, Sigourney Weaver scene from the first Ghostbusters, when the arms come out, it grabs Egon. But before he dies, because he does die, unfortunately, he traps himself somehow inside the PKE meter, or he traps himself in the house. And from then on, when his granddaughter moves in with his daughter, and they move in from the city, he's able to communicate them very much Casper-like and lead them throughout these trials and tribulations.
And I love those scenes because it felt like he was present even though he couldn't be.
Yeah.
Like I was imagining Egon doing that. You know what I mean?
And the big baddie of the movie is Zool. Like, so Mike's wife, Katie, actually mentioned it. It's very much a recreation of the first movie. You know, if you've seen the first movie, Zool and Shandor and all that shit, Zool's trying to come back. And this is the big moment. This bitch fucking been waiting a long time, and she's fucking been goddamn grinding her nails down, and she's gonna fucking wrap her legs around your face. She's pissed, and she's coming back. But it all happens the exact same way, pretty much. I mean, Sigourney Weaver style. Paul Rudd and the daughter of Egon get possessed by terror dogs. They become terror dogs. They Keymaster, the gatekeeper. The whole fucking thing happens.
It's the exact same.
But you know, that's beyond. So those are the big spoilers. I mean, the fact that Zool and Shandor are in it, and I guess the other big thing is obviously this is the hugest thing. The hugest. The original OG Ghostbusters come back dressed up in their goddamn uniforms.
I was waiting for
with
it.
the proton packs.
God, from the second the movie started, I was like, when's it gonna be? When's it gonna be?
Dude, and they come in. You know, you saw it in the trailer when he's like, "Did you miss us?" But then when Venkman came in, dude, Venkman still had that sly, fucking smart-ass, you know, Peter Venkman thing. And I'm like, dude, but like, he's like, he did the whole flat top. They also do the "Are you a god?" joke.
That made me laugh really hard because she was like, "Are you a god?" You know the joke where like, "Would someone ask you if you're a god?" You say yes. He was like, yes.
Yeah, Winston and Venkman were like, you gonna say it right this time? And then there was another part where Zool she kind of pimp slaps him away, and Venkman gets thrown against the hood of the Ecto-1. Dude, this was so cool.
It was awesome.
It was so cool to see those three guys.
Yeah, that part was a fucking 10, dude.
It was pinned against the Ecto-1, and all the shit's going down, and then Venkman starts talking to Zool like he did to Vigo the Carpathian in the second one. He was like, "We could have been the best power couple." He's like, "And you come crawling back to me." Dude, it was so great. Yeah, so then the tearjerker moment happens. So the three Ghostbusters, the OG Ghostbusters, are protoning the pack out of this bitch, and flat top trying to singe it. The little girl, Egon's granddaughter, starts going at him as well, or going after Zool with her proton pack, and then you see these ghostly hands hold her the Neutrona wand, and it's fucking Egon dressed in the Ghostbusters uniform, dude.
You know what was so beautiful about that, man? What was so beautiful about that was they weren't powerful enough. Like she was taking, even though they were crossing the streams,
they needed that energy.
They needed one more.
Yeah,
and he shows up because that moment
when he stood and he stands alongside the other three, and they all start looking over at him. Winston sees him first and looks at him, and then Peter's he's like, "Yeah, I thought you'd show up."
They weren't even shocked. It was beautiful, man.
And then there's a scene, and dude, really what just pulled it out of your eyes and said, "Fuck you, you're gonna cry tonight," was when he hugs the granddaughter, and then he hugs his daughter, and he's hugging her and stuff, and then you see what really got me is when they cut to the Ghostbusters face. Yeah. They see Peter, because Peter's always been a loudmouth, and he's always a smart aleck and stuff. He's even this is good. This is how it all comes together.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It felt real, man. I felt like those actors were feeling that moment too.
Yeah, it was just very subtle and was very awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And one thing I didn't like about the movie, it's not the movie's fault, but they had to spend half the movie pretending Egon was a piece of shit, and you knew he wasn't. You knew that would be turned around. Yeah. But then when you find out that I do hate kind of the idea that even Ray or none of the guys believed him, and he had to go do it himself.
Well, he just left them, but
he asked them first, and they were like, no, and then then he stole the shit and left them. I don't like that.
No, I don't. Well, actually, Ray, no, Okay, so when the little girl, they get arrested because they discharge the Neutrona wand in a fucking town, which makes sense. They get arrested. She makes one phone call to raise a call. When you see in the trailer, he's like, hello, raise a call.
I thought they were going to come in right then, and I was super pumped, and then when they didn't, I was bummed.
I kind of knew better because there was a lot of movie left.
Yeah.
So I only knew they were going to be in for like 15 minutes.
I assumed at first.
Yeah, it would have been great if they had, but she talks to Raise a Call, and he's like, do you know Egon Spengler? It's like, Egon Spengler can burn in hell. But what you find out is what happened is that Winston went on to become a very famous, not very famous, but very rich realtor. He went and got his license, and he moved on, and Peter moved on, and what Ray's pissed about is he said that Egon... he had this idea that something big was coming, the end of the world. This whole thing was happening. And he did try to talk to him, but no one believed him. But what had happened was in the middle of the night, he just took their shit and left and then went away and didn't talk to him and then called Ray one time later on and said that the end of the world was coming and he didn't believe him and hung up. What I find interesting, though, is what I liked about it was the fact that when Ray explains what happened, he's like, we did our job too well.
Yeah.
That he's like, hey, we used to get like 10 calls a day and we were lucky to get 1 call a week because they busted all the ghosts and they were gone. But what I think is interesting now is that after this movie and after this explosion of Zool happened, all these ghosts went out because it goes back to the after credit scene. You wonder if there's ghosts again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, so first off, they don't mention Ghostbusters 2 at all. But I did read a thing with Ivan Reitman, or Jason Reitman, where he said that Ghostbusters 2 is canon. He was like, we didn't mention it, we didn't bring it up, because in the movie they're going back and they're watching the videos, but he's showing them the videos at the end of the first one. Yeah. They never mention anything from the second one, but apparently the toaster was there was some other stuff in there. So you're starting to wonder, God damn, don't retcon the second movie. But he said it himself. He's like, there is a time and a place for that.
Yeah.
He's like, so he kind of, I don't know if he's hinting at something or what, but like...
There's so much more to be told, because you think about Oscar.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is Oscar?
Yeah, and then obviously that's the halfway thing is Sigourney Weaver, and they're doing she's hanging out with Bill Murray or Peter, and they're doing the squiggly lines test, and that was cute.
That was fucking great. Yeah, I like that.
But that was fine. But the biggest thing, man, I think the biggest thing about the movie, so many lanes opened up with this. At first, Winston, when he goes over to the Ecto-1, he's like, "What'd they do to you?" He's like, "Don't worry, I'm going to take you back to the city and fix you up." I was like, "Oh shit, what does that mean?"
Get it, Winston.
And then in the extra scene, you actually get to see. Egon talking, the coin sequence, and then they're back.
That's actually that scene that they show where Janine was giving him the 1964 World Fair coin. Mm-hmm. That's a deleted scene from Ghostbusters.
I thought it must be. Yeah,
that was an actual deleted scene. They just didn't put in the movie.
Yeah, but like they go back to the city, and it was so beautiful, dude. How they brought up the old Ghostbusters logo, and they actually played the music.
So fucking
awesome, man. But when you see the city. When they go to the city and you see the city and then you see the Ghostbusters logo, I was like, that's fucking Ghostbusters.
That was Ghostbusters.
Like, it's cool what they did with the small town and the dust and all that shit like that.
You wanted to be in New York, though.
I wanted to be in New York, though. It's like Ninja Turtles. Like, you wanted to be in New York. Like, I wanted that. And then when they go there... and they show Winston walking around that empty Ghostbusters building, which, by the way, I thought he said that was a Starbucks now.
It is.
So
no. What he basically said was okay. So the after scene with Peter and Sigourney Weaver, and we're not just glazing over that. It's a very nice scene.
It is
because it shows that they stay together, like after Ghostbusters 2.
Well, at the very least, they're friends.
Yeah, or they're fucking on the side, whatever. But Ghostbusters. So after that scene, you see Winston talking to Janine, and they're reminiscing about the old days of Ghostbusters or Ghostbusting. And you see that Winston has done very well for himself. He is a very rich realtor, and he's talking about his achievements, and that he even pays Ray's bookstore rent.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh,
nice.
I loved it." Yeah, he's like, Ray's going to turn a profit one day. So Ray doesn't even know that he's doing that. But he said that I think he mentioned he does. He said something that he got it out of the holding of Starbucks. Like he bought the firehouse back.
I must have missed that. My kids were at this point, and they were running around the theater throwing shit at each other. So I was like,
they were busting ghosts.
Yeah.
But you know what the thing is? Winston says, "Hey, I got it out. I bought it back from Starbucks." So, and then the last scene is you see Winston walking through the remnants of the old firehouse, and then you see that he opens up the doors and the car rolls in, and then right before it cuts, you see the containment unit flashing red because when the trap is green, you're good to go or whatever. But it was flashing red like it was in Ghostbusters 1 with the thing. So who the fuck's down there? Is it Slimer? Is Slimer getting out, or is other ghosts getting out? This is where the magic is really going to happen, because it, like you said, it opens up the roads.
Yeah.
Now you can have a whole Ghostbusters universe.
So I don't know how that's going to work. Like, I don't know. Maybe the kids come to the city and they're like working, but not as full-time Ghostbusters because they're still kids. But maybe you have Winston,
or Oscar can show up.
Yeah, or you have Winston hire some people. Janine is working for him or whatever. Winston hires some people. Maybe the next sequel is the movie where we get some adults together that he hires because shit starts to happening. Paul Rudd definitely has to have something to do with it, right? The myriad of things that they could do with this fucking in sequence is amazing, and the possibilities are endless, Jim.
They're endless. Paul Rudd could easily fit back into a sequel if they're just going to focus on like an adult kind of version of it, because he's like, hey, I had those experiences. I'm a seismologist, so he is a scientist, and he's like, I couldn't shake it. He's very much Louis Tully, but he's got the smarts of like Egon in a way, or Ray. And you can bring him in, and then Oscar, which he's been missing since the second one, which the second one came out 19. He'd be younger than us.
Yeah. So you could cast anybody you want for that.
Right, 89 or something. So yeah, it really is an awesome mosaic of possibilities with how they ended this film. And I am so thankful, finally, that we have an opportunity now that we can actually play inside the actual Ghostbusters universe that was established by Aykroyd, Reitman, and Ramis. And I can't. There's nothing. I'm so excited about to see what happens with this in the future with this universe. And I almost feel like Ernie Hudson I almost 100% will come back as some kind of mentor.
He seems like they're setting him up to be the leader of something.
Well,
he's a little bit younger. At least he looks a little bit younger.
Well, he's just in shape.
Yeah, but he's more believable on screen as a full-time Ghostbuster than the other two.
Well, if you remember the old show, Extreme Ghostbusters, Egon stayed on as a mentor to the new group of Ghostbusters. And obviously Hal Ramis is gone now, so if they just replace that with Ernie Hudson, who's obviously down for doing it most likely, I'm fucking fine with that. And then every once in a while you get Dan Aykroyd or Bill Murray to pop up. Yeah. Let me ask you a question, weird. Would it happen if they did a Ghostbusters TV series, with a Netflix style series? No. And then, do you think that Bill Murray or Dan Aykroyd would be too big for their britches that they would show up every once in a while on cameos?
Not today, not in the world of today, where TV's bigger than movies itself.
Would you rather have that, like a 12-episode Ghostbusters TV series on Netflix, or a movie?
I'd rather have a movie because they feel bigger, but 12 hours in Ghostbusters versus 2. What are you going to figure out?
Yeah, because you could throw in the Vigo. You could throw in so much other shit that we didn't get to, because there's so much material to cover.
How big did you smile when you saw the fucking Twinkie in the dashboard, by the way?
Oh, dude.
I was like, holy shit.
I wanted one
awesome.
after that. Also, this is not a spoiler, or it is a spoiler, but we'll just tell you now. Unfortunately, there is no Rick Moranis. I really, really hoped.
Yeah.
Just beyond a fart shadow in the night that they would get him somehow. They would get Rick Moranis, but he didn't show up. But
yeah,
it sucks, man, because it would have really cool. It would have really been cool to see Louis Tully. But
now that they got this set up, who knows what'll happen? I'm going to be honest with you. I would very, very much rather them go to a whole new story with what Winston's got going on in the city than do a sequel with the family and everything still going on here in this town. I think, man, I'd be so disappointed if they announce a movie and it doesn't have to do with Winston and what's going on in the city. Well, that's what I need.
In the words of what Ernie Hudson says it in this movie, which is another throwback. Thank you for the erection. He says, I've got the tools, I've got the talent. Jason Reitman's got the tools and he's got the talent, and he did a great job and he knocked it out of the park. Ivan Reitman, I'm sure, was proud as fuck of him, because it really was exactly what Ivan Reitman was like. Hey, you know what? You're doing good, kid. You're doing good. Keep it up. You're not on my level yet, but you're close to it. You can sit at the big table now. And I'm excited to see where the sequel goes, or what they're going to do with this, because I think that, well, I know this is true. Dan Aykroyd had said a long time ago that he wanted to make the idea of Ghostbusters, the universe, was that there were multiple firehouses with multiple different offices, and they all worked inside their own universe, but they all were connected by the fact that they're Ghostbusters, like firemen were. So we'll see what happens. I mean, if they go with that, there's even a joke, and I know it's a joke, but Bill Murray at the toward the end, he's like, "Hey, I'm from the Home Office. We just want to say you're doing a good job out here." I feel like that was almost a precursor to what they can do.
Yeah. They left themselves a lot of options. I'll say this though. The last thing I'll say about it is I don't think you'll like this. I think you'll disagree with this. I hope that Reitman doesn't direct the next one. I hope he doesn't. I hope he produces it, and I hope he makes sure certain things stay true. But I wouldn't mind, like, I don't know, like, I want the next movie. You can't rely on nostalgia unless it's gonna. You really can't rely on nostalgia at all, except for the fact that hopefully Winston and the other guys will be in there. But you definitely can't rely on nostalgia as much as this movie did. So in the next movie, the sequel, with whatever they do, I hope it's more entertaining. I think they're gonna have to make it more entertaining. It can't be slow. It can't be too serious. I think it needs to take a little bit of a load off and have some fun.
I think Reitman had a lot on his shoulders in this one, because you have to address Harold Ramis's death. So that there had to be a really big moment in there. Like they have to show you the emotional volcano, and it has to erupt, and now we're good. Right. And now we can move past it.
Well said.
But also, by the way, if they're going to get a new director, if Jason Reitman doesn't come back, I hope he does, but if he doesn't come back for the sequel, who I would nominate for the sequel to this, it'd be James Gunn.
He's too zany for me. Well, maybe not. No,
I think James Gunn could do it, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Harvey Weinstein. No, but James Gunn, man. I think that James Gunn has got the touch for it.
Because like a Todd Phillips or something, the Hangover dude.
Or the dude from that was going to originally do Ant-Man.
Edgar Wright could fucking crush Ghostbusters, dude.
Edgar Wright.
That's the number one, right?
Edgar Wright, yeah. I think Edgar Wright, that's who I'd grab. I get Edgar Wright, and not Edgar Wright's not available, James Gunn. But if that's not the case, but either way, Jason Reitman comes back and does a sequel. The only thing I would personally, and like, I didn't mind the kids at all. I really didn't. I thought they were cool and they were unique, and it's fine. It's cool. I would rather them, you're right, it'd be an easy way to do it. They're not old enough to take over the mantle of Ghostbusters, so Ernie Hudson putting together a new team and trying to open up an actual business for Ghostbusters, hire adults that could do it. You get Paul Rudd in there as one of them, and you hire a couple of the new ones. So there you go.
I love Tom Hardy. And then you almost have this junior league.
Tom Hardy's going to be Tom Hardy.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Henry Cavill.
Guys, what are your thoughts on everything we talked about today? We hope you guys loved it as much as we did. We love your fucking faces, and if you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button and get some goddamn fucking wham pin.
Keep on busting, bitch.
Busting makes me feel good. What are you gonna do on October 31st?
What are you gonna do on October 31st?
Here comes that white-faced fucker, an asshole like no other. He's a big old piece of shit. Wants to stab your sister's tits cause he's a white-faced fucker. Loomis can't recover. Dr. Challenge drunk again, sleeping with your sister's friends.
Do you want to know about the darkness?
I said, goddamn.
Goddamn you, Michael!
I said, goddamn.
A lot of people don't know the darkness that goes inside their hearts.
I said, goddamn.
Goddamn you, Michael! What are you gonna do on October 31st?